And so when she finally walked away to use the restroom, I was curious. I took a sip of her latte, and there were onions in it. That's right. My babe was drinking an onion latte. This week, PlayStation put on its first State of Play of the year. Important reminder, as always, that State of Plays are traditionally more low-key than PlayStation showcases. However, this thing was 43 minutes long and packed with trailers. I was thinking about that Xbox Developer Direct from 2 weeks ago and how they just kind of show you up front, here are all the games we're going to talk about. And there's still room for surprises, right? But generally, you have a pretty good idea of what you're about to see and what is left in the show. Without any sort of framing device anymore, State of Plays have just become nebulous. I don't know what to grasp onto. I don't know what tone they're going for. You're looking at this, and then you close your eyes, and then suddenly it's, what am I looking at? What is this? So as I was sitting there this week being inundated with wave after wave of seemingly unending promotional material, the one observation I had, the one thing that stuck out to me, was that it seems like a lot of these game trailers are struggling just to stick the landing. For instance, I'm disappointed when a trailer ends like this.
Yet your wicked schemes will avail you not, watching one.
It's like it's taking the place of a big tease, but not actually fulfilling its purpose. It's like saying, knock, knock. Yet your wicked schemes avail you not, watching one. What? What is it? What am I supposed to feel from? What are you trying to tell me? And it's not like every trailer needs to end with some exciting, shocking Doc Brown spider monster. What I'm saying is just some of these trailers don't even know how to end. The absolute bare minimum for a trailer's ending is a monster jumping at the screen with its mouth open. That's what Metro Awakening did. Helldivers 2 has a nice simple ending. Here's a big mech. Look how fun this looks. Trailer over. And that's all you have to do. Compare that to Rise of the Ronin. It's ending with this nice montage of moments that I think actually look fun to play. But it ends with this. He says, as for the shogunate, you're not wrong. It's a lame duck. Like, yeah, it's not a revelation to anybody. What is that moment? On top of that, it's a 2v1 battle with some guy with a hat and a mustache. This is what they leave us with. Gotta forge my fate on March 22nd. Silent Hill 2 presented what I would nicely describe as the worst trailer of the show. It's time to reveal gameplay, right? And it starts with some nice environmental exploration shots, a little puzzle solving. But then we move on to this unrelenting montage of shooting guns against the same 3 enemy types. It's just bananas. It's a bananas decision. For some reason, there's this scene where there's these 2 door-sized holes in a gap between 2 buildings. And they show this scene 3 times. And there's only 2 reasons this could exist. 1, either the editor wasn't provided with enough footage, or 2, they genuinely thought this is a moment of suspense. If you don't know Silent Hill, you watch that trailer and think, okay, Silent Hill 2 is like Resident Evil, but with more shooting, huh? To its credit, the last shot is a blurry reveal of what is probably Pyramid Head, which almost serves the purpose of being suspenseful, but they kind of already cashed that one in when this was the final shot of 2022's reveal trailer. Judas is a weird game. Judas is Ken Levine's first game since BioShock Infinite. The trailer ends with you getting sucked into space, which is good, but the effective actual ending is fix what you broke. And then this woman looking mad at you. Fix what you broke, to me, is not an appealing tagline. This game is saying, take responsibility for what you've done. And I didn't do anything. Judas, I didn't do anything yet. And also, I don't know if it's inappropriate to talk about this, but I can't tell if this character design is meant to be attractive. So like with Stellar Blade, we all know what they're doing. It seems like they have no intention of ever owning up to it, but we all know what you're doing. They come across like, what? There's nothing, no. I've been dreaming about making this game for years. It's pure. What are you insinuating? We get it. With Judas, I'm not sure. You remember when Elizabeth had the facial proportions of a Disney princess? And the justification was that you need to see her expressions from far away. You see this tank-topped hacker and you think, Ken, you're still doing this, huh? How far away is this Disney princess gonna stand from us? But I'll tell you which trailer I loved, and it won't be hard to guess. Yeah, it's Death Stranding 2 on the beach. It's a 9-minute long trailer. I know that's excessive. And I know it's not an interesting take to say that I like a trailer from Hideo Kojima. In fact, that's kind of played out at this point. But truly, amongst all of the other trailers in this presentation, this one I feel like best conveys intent and purpose. Like, let's say you're someone who can't tell the difference. What's the difference, Kyle? What's the difference between this trailer actually and any of the other stuff? Just do this for me. Pay close attention here to how the cool robot is making happy baby noises. That's just good. Don't you get that? That's just good. And it's not like it was this constant weird for the sake of weird puppet people and high-tech shoulder hands, right? This trailer actually also conveyed what it is like to play Death Stranding, which between cutscenes is a lot of, all right, how am I going to get over there? Here I go. At first I was nervous when we see this gun wall, and then the bad guy says this.
Looks like you decided to trade in that rope for a stick this go-round.
But it seems like generally Death Stranding 2 is still primarily a pathfinding game that also makes you cry when that stuff you built gets destroyed. And on top of all that, it successfully concludes on a mysterious stinger. Hold on, what do you mean that baby was already dead? It would have been an excellent ending to a better than average state of play. But that wasn't the ending. The ending was Herman Hulst now wearing a couple of extra jackets, introducing Hideo Kojima to announce that preparations are underway for a new action espionage game. Hulst says he's always hoped Kojima would return to the action espionage genre. And of course they're not really talking about the genre. They're talking about Metal Gear Solid. Herman Hulst simply said it would be cool if you made something like Metal Gear Solid again. And Kojima says, yeah, I'm doing that. So is this game coming soon? Are we about to see a teaser? No, of course not. We learned that once Death Stranding 2 on the beach is finished in 2025, work will then begin in earnest on this new franchise. And I know you're all very excited, but here's the best part about all this. It's a movie too. Stay tuned. And then the drone flies away from this movie set. And I feel like there's some implied magic in this shot. Like, we should be amazed and enchanted. Like, it's the mid-90s and George Lucas just said he's making Star Wars movies again. But it's not that. There's so much nothing to this announcement that it's impossible to be excited about it. And to be clear, I'm not upset that they brought this up too early. Like, it is too early. It's too early. But these things leak, and at least they got to bring it up on their own terms. What I think is stupid is that there was a belief that this would make for some sort of grand finale. It's like your boss coming into the office and saying, hey, everyone listen up, I got good news. I got heated floors installed in my house this weekend. Huh? Compare it to 2015, when Kojima announced he was working on what would become Death Stranding. Here's Andrew House, clearly not caring about his fashion. He's got this natural disheveled look, just making this announcement as a separate YouTube upload. That could have worked. That would have been fine. But I realized probably the whole reason there was even a Death Stranding 2 trailer in this thing was so that it could also announce Physant, which is I didn't even bring that up yet. That's the name of this thing. And by the way, it's not too late to change that name. You have plenty of time. And I understand the immediate rebuttal is like Metal Gear Solid is also a nonsense title, right? Like those words also don't make sense. But you're right. But those are at least 3 cool words. Physant, I'm afraid to say, doesn't sound cool. Anyway, I think Death Stranding 2 showed very well. I think that was the most interesting trailer in the entire presentation. I think it is one of the most interesting upcoming video games. And yet, immediately, they torpedo it to say, And if that wasn't your cup of tea, don't worry, we're working on a Metal Gear Solid film fashion gaming enterprise immediately once we're done with that thing. It's just disappointing because they had it. They had their ending. And then the Cold Weather Boys showed up to sell us the unfertilized egg of an intellectual property. That's not how you end a show. And that is it for Delayed Input this week. But while I have your ear, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about. I think people are being a little too harsh on Suicide Squad. Here are my top 4 reasons this gas has legs. So one last thing tonight. I realized that I used the phrase Doc Brown's spider monster in the script. And while this is something I've been saying for years, constantly, it was until I searched through all my documents I realized I've never said that in Delayed Input. So I figured I should explain briefly what a Doc Brown spider monster is. It starts with my belief that it's harder than ever to get anyone's attention. That, I could watch a $3 million commercial and then 90 seconds later cannot remember a single detail from it. And not only is it harder to get people's attention, it's harder to make people feel something. You gotta shake people. You gotta reach deep into their chest and grab their spine and rattle it. So here's the premise and the philosophical question. Let's say you are producing Back to the Future 4. How do you make it interesting? How do you make a modern audience interested in Back to the Future 4? I say you have to make it distressing. It can't end with some joke about like, oh, we don't need roads. There's no roads. Like the audience will love whatever roads joke you put at the end of your trailer. No, it won't be surprising. It has to be shocking. It has to be unsettling. It has to cause stress for everyone. I say you end the trailer in the darkness and then slowly reveal Doc Brown mutated into a gross spider monster body, saying, Marty, you gotta help me. You hate that idea, right? That ruins the movie for you? Good. Doc Brown spider monsters is like a twist at the end of a trailer or movie or whatever. It's a twist that is bad. It's bad and nobody likes it. However, despite itself, makes people more interested. Because sometimes I think the power of, oh no, is stronger than the power of, oh, nice. For a more recent example, think about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If that trailer ends with the appearance of Slimer coming out of some trash, nobody is surprised. Everyone expected that. Nobody's going to be talking about that moment. If Sony Pictures really wanted people to talk about this movie in 2024, that trailer should have ended with a Doc Brown spider monster. And to be clear, I'm not saying like everybody needs to be like an actual spider monster. Imagine this. Imagine the scene. Imagine it's like a banquet, right? Just like this fancy, only in New York, chandeliers, money everywhere kind of banquet, right? And then you see Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd standing there in like some tuxedo, right? He's clearly not comfortable. He's checking his watch. And then his daughter walks in this gorgeous gown. And she says, Dad, I have great news. I'm engaged. And Aykroyd's just like, what? That's great news. That is great news. To whom? And then the camera pans down, right? And you see that her dress is like jostling a little bit. The daughter doesn't say anything. Aykroyd's like, to whom? To whom? To whom? And at that point, the dress is like really jiggling. And you can kind of hear like this like slurping laughter coming up from down there. And the daughter's face has become solemn at this point. And she just says, I'm going to marry Slimer. Cut to black.